Gather round, hunters, and welcome to the first episode of Season 12 of Starfleet Command, Orion Pirates Plus Mod. I am, as always, your host, Tirek, as we go through the multiple campaigns that Starfleet Command 2 Orion Pirates Plus Mod has to offer. And for this 12th season, it has been determined by both the community during our live streams that we are going to be playing as the Merak Star League. We're going back to being one of the good guy factions for once, and we are playing my personal favorite place, as you may have noticed the combination of Tirek the Mirak, and that would be me. So, as usual, our skill level will be on Admiral, and we will be starting in the early era, so that we may experience as time marches on the early, middle, late, and advanced eras of technology. So, without further ado, allow us to begin the campaign, setting off into wild space. Now, I had asked a couple of people, how did we want to start some things? And just going to take a moment to admire the map in its completely unmolested form. We see this map at the very beginning. It is 2263 January, or the first of 10 months, because the start date works weird in this one. And we have decided to go to war with the Romulan Star Empire. And as you can see, we are at war with them. So we're going to have to trek all the way from here, up in Merak space, down this way to the Romulans. This is gonna be one hell of a journey, and it's gonna take us a little while to get ourselves up to snuff to actually be able to, go down that far. We're gonna need at least a heavy cruiser, probably two. We're gonna want a star base to erect somewhere here in the neutral zone to be our primary base of operations. So it's gonna be a little while before we actually get there. So until then, we're gonna be doing short, close-range patrols. Now, I did ask how the community felt that they wanted this to begin, what sort of ship we should jump into. After all, we have the ability to alter the game's config file just a little bit to get ourselves into a frigate, a destroyer, a light cruiser, a heavy cruiser, or a dreadnought, etc., etc. And they said that they wanted us to start as a frigate, since they believed that the early game was the most interesting game. So, without further ado, let's check our supplies, make sure that we are all equipped with enough heavy weapons. We're going to go up to maximum power missiles. We're keeping Type 1s just for a little while. Never mind, we're going to Type 4s, I forgot. We're going to stay at slow drones for a little while, mainly because we can't upgrade, but also because they're free. So we can get 4 reloads of Type 4s and be fully ready. So we'll finish that. Just a quick check to the shipyard to demonstrate what our ship looks like. And this is our frigate. The frigate has a single disruptor on the bow, plus 2 missile rack A's. These are not very good missile racks, if I'm completely honest. They don't have a whole heck of a lot of ammunition. 2 phaser 1s, which is a decent phaser to use, and 2 phaser 3s for point defense work. Just gonna double check the Warclaw is, yep, it's just a ZFF, so let's set out into space and see what kind of damage we can deal. Our first mission of Season 12, your average standard MET-10 patrol. I like MET-10 patrols. They're nice, solid, and easy. Ooh, I like this map. It's going to be in the middle of an asteroid field amongst nebulas off in the distance. If you are just joining us for the very first time and just hopping into a new season, well, this is Starfleet Command Orion Pirates Plus Mod. Now, it is based off of the fairly popular Starfleet Command series, which was released back in the year 2000. Well, I think actually Starfleet Command 1 may have been 1999. In any event, a long time ago. We're talking 17 to 18 years. And thanks to the work of quite a few dedicated members over at the Hot and Spicy forums, they have managed to get this game working relatively easily. They have taken a whole bunch of other people's work, including NCC Adam, I believe his name was, and as well as the HD patch, and bundled it all into one easy to download and use format. They've also done a lot of their own work setting things up, like fixing shield colors, making sure that this control panel actually ends where it's supposed to end, and a host of other upgrades and changes. And right now their big project is they're testing a brand new Dynaverse server, which is a massive online multiplayer type of game that you can play with this. You saw that big map just a few minutes ago? Now just imagine you and 5 of your friends playing at the same time. Yeah, that's the kind of stuff that we're actually looking at, and they're working hard on it. So a big shout out to the guys over at the Hot and Spicy forums for the work that they do. You can find a link to the mod in the description down below. I highly suggest you go check it out if you've never seen it before. And if you have any questions at all, they are excellent, and they will help you out as best as they can. And trust me, they're really good at what they do. So, for the first match of the season, we're squaring off against the light cruiser, which is somewhat disturbing. We set a probe to find out exactly what we're getting involved with to determine what we're going to use our single shuttle for. And, yeah, probes being, of course, mobile sensor platforms. They can travel out towards the enemy and give us a detailed readout of what we're dealing with. His shields towards his rear are not all that good. He's also got a pair of ARACs and a photon torpedo launcher. So we're going to set up a scatter pack missile launcher. So what we're doing is we're taking one of our shuttles. We have a single administrative shuttle. Normally we would use this to putter around to different planets and drop people off and pick them up and do all sorts of normal logistical work. What we're doing instead is we're taking missiles from our magazines. We have taken 6 of them, and we are now busy loading them into that shuttle. On command, we can drop it out our shuttle bay, which is located probably somewhere underneath the nacelles there, and it will float there for a little while we get clear. And then, at a predetermined time, it will then explode, and all 6 missiles will come flying out towards the enemy light cruiser, with pretty noticeable effect. Should have had some sort of defense up, but it doesn't matter because he couldn't hit me anyway. So let's get our electronic countermeasures going, because we probably want that working. Well, actually, no, we're at full power. It's going to take all of our speed, all of our power to maintain that. So let's slow down a little bit so I can get a little bit of electronic countermeasures. This will make them less accurate, and we will be able to avoid their damage more. I'm going to set our missiles to 2, our disruptor to 3. I'm setting up weapon groups right now. And all of our phasers are going to be on hardpoint 1. So let's get involved with that disruptor bit. It's designed for this sort of long-range blinking, and it is a very narrow arc, as you can see. It's designed only for straightforward combat. At the same time, we're going to probe his defenses a bit. We're going to give him a pair of missiles, see what he does with them. We're dragging him into the missiles because our missiles right now can only go at a speed of 16. So if we get them close enough, they should be able to do some damage. And he grabbed onto him. Now that works out really well for us because as long as he's trying to hold these missiles, he's got to spend power on that. Each one of these defensive tractor beams, which is what he's using, you can access them over here in the shield icon. We have one because we're a little tiny ship. Each one of these defensive tractor beams costs 1 point of power. And so holding on to them is not easy. As long as he's shooting at us, he's not shooting at our missiles, and we can actually build up quite a stack against him. And I'm going to keep trying to do that. That's actually going to... Nope, those are going to go through. Now, one of the things we could do is we could try and dump our Wild Weasel on him right away, but that wouldn't work out, because he probably has prepared... Or we could dump our Scatterback, but he probably has prepared a Wild Weasel shuttle. Now that shuttle is designed to mimic his signature, his drive signature, which will confuse all guidance systems of missiles inbound on him. Basically what means all the missiles that we fire towards him will not travel towards him. They will instead travel towards the Wild Weasel and do nothing. So that would be, of course, be bad, because we've put quite a lot of our, frankly, pretty limited missile supplies right in his hands. And there it goes. So he's dumped his Wild Weasel now, and that's our opportunity. Because he's done that, his shuttle bay is no longer available to launch any more shuttles. So we have a brief window of opportunity where we now can fire at him, where he cannot do that sort of Wild Weasel trick again. So now we dump our scatter pack. That'll flood him with 6 missiles. He can only grab so many, and a lot of his phasers are currently not set up to be able to work on point defense right now. They're currently on cooldown. So we have a very good opportunity here. And we're going to come in here, hit him with our phasers if we can. Yep, we've got a couple of missiles on through. Each one of these missiles, because they're Type 4s, will deal 24 damage. So we slammed through those shields and dealt quite a bit of damage on him. Now, he is picking up the speed, and so firing a pair of missiles from this rear arc probably won't go so great. We are trying to get our bow back around towards him. That way we can sort of get more involved with our disruptors, with our phasers. And unfortunately, the current field that we're showing towards him is making us a little bit vulnerable. I'm going to make that shot, not because I want to, but... now I definitely want to, because he's pulling directly towards us. So he's going to pick those up again. That's again going to sap up 2 points of power from him, and we're just going to soar away from him. Because now at this point, we're just going to build up a little bit more speed, a little bit more energy, get a better position on him, and prepare to start stacking up more missiles on him. He's already taken some pretty nasty damage, too, so we're doing okay so far. Missile's not yet ready, but we might get a disruptor shot in here. The arc on the disruptor is very narrow. You have to be at just the perfect angle in order to use it. And we've managed to cut off more of his forward shielding. He's trying to come around to bring his aft phasers into play here. These phaser 3s, of course, designed for point defense, so firing into his rear arc, not a great idea for us. And if we can get our bow around and start chasing him, though, we can start really plinking away with our disruptors. We can use our energy armament to our advantage. But he's going to high energy turn right back on towards us. We're going to try and cut off his T. And if we can cross the T here, we'll be in a really good fire angle. And right there, all phasers to back up, and we pass through, causing a little bit of damage to him. It's not too much, and we might pull away in time. Yep, we're outside the range of his return fire. So we're not getting a whole lot done with the phasers, or with the missiles, unfortunately. He has more defensive tractors. He has a better follow-up towards that, and we don't have any more scatter packs. We're slowly running out of ammunition, but that's not too terrible as long as we can sort of start continuing to whittle away his shields. Once his shields are down, then we can start being much more aggressive, because every time we hit him, we're causing damage. Alright, and He's turning in the direction I want him to go. So we're firing back at him. Not getting a whole heck of a lot done just yet, but this is early. We're skirmishing with a ship that is much larger than we are. So we do have to keep that in mind. Now, one of the things that we'd like to do is maybe we can get some Marines to board his ship and destroy some of his systems. We have 6 boarding parties to do it with and 3 transporters. That's a lot of transporters for such a small ship. I'm actually really surprised. So he has a lot of firepower concentrated in these 2 phaser arrays. And if we can take them out, if we can take these phaser banks down, he'll be significantly weaker. So we're going to try and prioritize that just a little bit. We're also going to start using our forward shield to, we're going to start reinforcing it because we're going to start chasing him now. And we also want to get our disruptor, again, in on the show. Nailing him back there, again, not a ton of damage, but every little bit matters. And so he's firing back, hitting our forward shield, but our reinforcement was able to take that damage and shrug it off. So now we're coming in. We've only got our phasers for this. Oh, but he's going to come right for us. So we are going to open up with the missiles, fire our phasers. We've got through. We dumped our Marines on top of them, and we managed to deal some damage to it. We have no more phasers to follow up. We really have a very limited armament. And I kind of... maybe that angle will be good. I'm not sure. We dropped a mine on him. Maybe we could generate something for it. Not a real great chance of that happening, but you want to try and take some chances on occasion. And using everything at your disposal can be important. So he fired his photon torpedo. It hit us. He's down 1 missile, which actually puts us in not a terrible position because we're going to follow up with another missile launch very shortly, and I want to get right onto his bow. That way it has to come right down towards him. So now he's got to deal with a lot more, and that missile got right through. We sent our Marines over. They blew up the target. We're going to target the next one. Oh, both of them are down. He has no more phaser arrays. That puts us in a very good position. With him no longer having phaser arrays, that means he has to turn around to present those aft phasers in order to do anything towards our missiles. But he's only got 2 of them. So that's enough to handle all of our missiles, but if any of those phasers miss at any point, suddenly he didn't do anything to us. So we're going to continue to come in on him. Now that we've taken out most of his forward weaponry, we're in a really good position. I'm feeling pretty confident about this so far. We'll get the disruptor in there. We'll get the phasers in there. We want to start cutting things open. And missile launch from here? Yeah, we're gonna, ooh. So that mine was really good for the positioning, but this pull off to starboard may have been a mistake. And it was, because pulling off to starboard like that made it so that our missiles actually avoided the mine that he deployed. Now he's holding on to 2 of them. He's got 2 points of power. We know he only has 2 tractor beams with which to do that with, so any more missiles that we fire get through. Unfortunately, we've only got 1 more missile, so we're going to have to make this one count. I want to get in close and tight to him, and I want to nail one of these phaser 3 mounts. So we'll use the disruptor again and phasers to see if we can't cut open. We've got an open shield, but he's trying to protect it. He really wants to avoid getting our transporters on target. Slow down a little bit, gives us a little bit of power. Oh, and now we go our own defensive tractor beam. It's not ideal to hold on to, but we're going to have to do it for a little while. And now he's taken out one of our missiles, so he has enough systems now to handle any barrage we send at him. I'm going to fire it anyway, and the main reason is because he's going to have to hold it. It's a point of power he has to spend, and anything that I can do to force him to spend power is a good thing. We're going to try and cut through, nail his, and there goes our Marines. We're going to pull to put up a shield, because every time you beam something over, you have to drop shields in order to do it. Unfortunately, we weren't able to destroy the Phaser 3 mount. So we have no more Marines to perform any more hit and runs, but we've got some really good positioning here. We've got a phaser that can continue to blast into him, and I'd like to get a good angle with this disruptor. Unfortunately, it's a very narrow angle, so we're going to have to probably get really close before we get something good on this. I'm tempted to high energy turn. We can do a high energy turn, which would allow us to just rapidly... Oh, no, the disruptor went off. Excellent. Oh, I must have been using my the key to fire missiles. I'm going to have to figure out if I want the disruptors on 2s or 3s. Normally I put disruptors on 2, but the missiles are a very important piece of our armament. So he's up to an attack shift of 2. I think, are you? Yeah, he's really gunning for electronic countermeasures. He set his electronic warfare suite up to protect himself, and that's actually very powerful because that makes us much less accurate. And with the few weapons that we have, the less accurate we are, it's very drastic on it. We unfortunately only have 3 weapons that really can do any damage to him at this point. Our Phaser 3s, well, they're point defense weapons. They're not really designed to gun him down. Our disruptor is definitely a primary assault weapon, but it's pretty narrow in its arc. So let's just go all weapons, fire as you bear. There we go, another punch through. He's only got 1 weapon left, though. You'll notice that these missile launchers he's got, they're grayed out, or blued out, I suppose. And that means that they are completely out of ammo. Ours are out of ammunition, too. However, we still have all of our secondary armament left. We're going to plow through a mine, which is not good. We were able to take it on the reinforcement, which was not terrible. So we're still running through, but you generally want to avoid running into mines like that. So all the missiles have been shot down at this point. It's just an energy engagement only. It looks like he doesn't have any more spare parts, which means he can't repair any of his pieces. We do have spare parts still, but none of these systems are actually destroyed. They've only been damaged, which might have an effect on their capabilities, but nothing significant. So we've managed to cut through all of his shields, taken out all of his weapons. He's ours now. So at this point, we've been successful in this mission. He no longer has any defenses to fight against us, and it's just a matter of time before we break him. So I'm actually going to increase the speed of time, so we just move things along a little bit faster. He can't shoot at us. He can't do anything to us. The only thing that could happen is if we hurt ourselves enough to take damage, and there we go. We've just managed to destroy a light cruiser with a starting frigate. That's a pretty good outcome. I'm really happy with how that one turned out. Now, missiles are the Merak primary heavy weapon. That will be the main thing that we use in order to destroy our enemies. Unfortunately, missiles have to be constantly restocked. We can sort of get away with it because our crew will rebuild missiles in between missions, and we can get up to half our ammunition load at the start of every mission. But if we want to stay topped off, we got to come home every single time. Once later eras start running along with better drive systems, unfortunately, the cost of a missile is going to go up. So for now, it's okay, but later on, it's going to be a problem. We have 12 points of repair, which I feel we really need to do the repair. We've got a diplomatic delivery, which we're going to have to take. And I'm going to want to restock that shuttle, because the scatter pack was very important. And I really want to get back up in number of Marines, because the Marines were extremely helpful. We have a lot of transporters, and I think we really need to make good use of them. So we're actually going to go for maximum Marines. That costs us a lot, but we made quite a bit of cash on the last mission. We're just going to do a brief check through here, see what sort of ship we're going to be gunning for. And the one that I'm seeing right away is a CC, which is a command cruiser. And the CC is 1782. So that's how much cash we're going to have to spend on it. And that will have 4 disruptors, 2 missile rack Bs, which have extended magazines, so extra missiles, and 2 missile rack Cs, which fire extra fast. So this will be an interesting ship we'll probably be gunning for, unless something new comes along by the time we make up that much cash. In the meantime, we do have a diplomatic delivery to go on. A diplomat will be required to be taken to a planet, dropped off, and then we can leave. There probably will be an enemy to face, but we technically don't have to fight him if we don't want to. But there is the enemy way off in the distance. It is a Lyran frigate. The Lyrans are the classic enemies against the Merak, and I'm actually going to take a moment to figure out exactly how fast our ship can move without restricting our charge rate at all. And that maximum speed is pretty decently high for a frigate. That's one of the greatest advantages you have as a Merak player, if you play the Merak, which I do because I love them. And you can tell, because again, my name Tirak comes directly from this game. I am Tirak the Merak, and I'm hilariously proud of that. So we can do a speed of 18. So because our primary heavy weapons are missiles, missiles take no power to charge. So we have 15 points of energy on the ship that we can spend on all of our systems, including filling up the phaser capacitor, which lets our phasers shoot, and charging things like our disruptor. So you have to spend your energy on all things, including shields and drive and everything else like that, and eventually you're going to run out. Well, with missiles, it takes no power to charge them, and since that's our most common heavy weapon, it means that the amount of energy that we have to spend on weapons is drastically less than a lot of other races. This Lyran frigate is probably going to be armed with a disruptor, or maybe 2, and what's called an expanding sphere generator, although he is an FLG, which means he may just be armed with phasers. And if so, that's going to be pretty useful to us, because it means he's kind of limited on them. Nope, he does have an ESG. This ESG costs a tremendous amount of power for him to use. We're going to prep our scatter pack right away. If we don't use it, we get to save it, and we'll get the shuttle back. But you always want to have that kind of ready in your back pocket so you can drop it whenever. And I need to relook up the hotkey. I think it's X, or is X cloak. I'll have to double check the hotkey in order to drop scatter pack shuttles, because it's going to be very important in this campaign. Now, one of the things that we can do is I'm going to slow down and I'm going to start stacking. So we launch these missiles. Oh, need to cancel that. Is we want to stack our missiles up on top of each other so that we have multiple missiles per barrage. Now, we started this really late because I forgot to think about it, but this will be one of our primary tactics early on. It'll allow us to get a lot of missiles in the air at the exact same time, and that will be very dangerous. And he's immediately activated his expanding sphere generator, which provided a protective bubble around him to prevent him from taking any damage. And then he dropped a mine right on top of us. We could reply in kind, except that takes, well, this. So we slow down, we go top view, we activate our transporter mines, and we go here, and then we wait for it to explode, and it takes a little while, because you kind of have to be going at slow speed in order to set this up, and you can only drop one mine at a time. So wait for that to trigger, and then immediately we could drop another one, or nope, we're out of mines. Forgot. So we've managed to knock some damage onto him. We have no other weapons, but we do have a couple of missiles, which we're going to immediately dump out on him. And I'm waiting for my other missile to be available to fire. It's currently flashing, which means it's taking damage, but I want to get it off the rail, because the moment I do, he's got to deal with hanging onto it. There we go. Other missiles off, and we'll go back to normal time. I don't normally like doing that transporter bomb thing. It slows the game, and it's a really annoying tactic. I hate it when it's used against me, and I really don't want to use it against the enemy, even though it can be a very effective tactic. As you saw, we've lost 2 of our shields. Well, we had lost 2 of our shields until we recovered it. So I'm going to send Marines to knock out this and this. So we're going to knock out his shuttle bay, and if we take out his shuttle bay, he can't launch wild weasels. So we'll send our Marines on over, and they'll immediately turn to prevent a shield. Unfortunately, we didn't have enough people to destroy it. Now, he's got 14 Marines on board. That's a ridiculous number of Marines on board. I'm going to dump a couple more missiles on into him. His ESG is probably charging up. We want to keep outside of a range of 3. It's a very limited weapon. It creates literally a bubble of energy around the ship. So he had to hold on to both of them, and he missed with his Phaser 3, which was his point defense phaser. So he's had to invest even more power into dealing with that problem. So that's a really nice position to be in. And he had to bring it around to the other side, which means he's going to be less defended for the next setup. We were able to get our hind claws to hit him. As just a terminology note, we tend to call our Phaser 3s hind claws when we play as the Lyrans or the Merak. The main reason for that being that the Lyrans and the Merak are cat people. So we tend to make, not a whole bunch of cat jokes, but on occasion we reference it. So we're going to get point blank range, blast on into him. We took a little bit of damage to ourselves because weapons like disruptors cause splashback damage if you fire them too close to the enemy. So you take a little bit of damage, but it was a point blank range shot, which makes it very accurate, and we've weakened his shields now more. Now, if we can get a nice, good angle on him, and I think we'll be able to use our phasers to get one, we should be able to get another drop over and try and see if we can't knock out his shuttle bay. Because if we can pull that off, then we no longer have to worry about any sort of defense that he can possibly play towards us using a Wild Weasel. And that'll be important. So we want to get that shuttle bay. We want to knock it offline. We want to constantly distract him, because once that shuttle bay's gone, he's weak. And then we want the ESG removed, because if we can take the ESG out, he no longer can put up just a gigantic barrier, which really hurts us. It is dangerous to kind of play this close to him because of that ESG, but I think I can force him to go in front of me, which I can, and so we're going to nail him a little bit more. Causing more damage on through. We've damaged one of his Phaser 3s. It's not destroyed, though, but it is hurt. Not too much, though. We should be able to make something out of it. How many more missiles do we got? This will be this value and 2 more. So we really need to make something happen shortly, because we need these. This is a lot of damage that we put towards him, and so that needs to cause something. So he's managed to grab both of them. We're going to come in with a disruptor shot, I think. We'll have to pick up the speed a bit more, catch up to him. I believe our speed was 15, and there are our Marines once again. Didn't make anything happen with it. All weapon select. A nice blast on through. Really good hit. And there's the shuttle bay offline. Okay, so the next step that we need to make sure that happens is that his ESG goes offline, because if he ESGs, he can probably shoot down every missile in the salvo. How many missiles I got left? We got 1 and 1. So this is the last salvo. Not this one, but the one about to come. He's grabbed both of those. Again, he's having to worry about that. And I think we dumped the scatter pack. I think that's our play. He's still got the phaser. And there we go. His ESG's offline. Okay, now we dump the scatter pack. Absolutely. He doesn't have any phasers online right now, so that scatter pack's about to go off. It's going to pop right next to him, and he's only doing a speed of 8. We caused quite a bit of damage, so this is probably going to finish him. So there goes the missiles. And shattered. And as you can see, a well-timed scatter pack is just a devastating weapon. So early on battles with the Merak are very much all about managing your ammunition, managing how much damage is incoming by using your ammunition, because if they're shooting at your drones, they're not shooting at you, and using the correct timing for scatter packs. It's a very technical dance, and I do love it. It's a lot of fun. To be fair, though, the main reason that originally attracted me to the Merak was simply because in their larger ships, you can just get these gigantic missile volleys at the enemy that they simply cannot defend against. Like, he can put up as many ESGs, tractors, and point defense systems as he wants. He is not going to stop the amount of firepower that's incoming. And that was the original reason why I started playing as the Merak. And then once you start to understand more nuances about the game, the Merak becomes a very technical and interesting race to play. And it's very different to a lot of others, simply because a lot of your firepower is very reliant on you still having ammunition. So if you don't play things right, if you kind of let things go too far and try and just overpower them in a situation where you really can't, you'll find yourself completely out of luck. Alrighty, so we've successfully delivered the diplomat to the planet. That'll give us a decent amount of prestige because we also took out the enemy that was attempting to disrupt us, thus establishing our prestige even higher, which will be excellent. Hoping we get a pretty decent amount because that was a pretty fair fight. If anything, he might have outgunned us a bit. So 180 prestige for delivering the diplomat, plus 180 for accomplishing the secondary objective. That's 280. That's not bad at all. That puts us up to 603. We're almost, well, we are a third of the way from getting our cruiser at this point, and that's just one episode. So that actually is going to end the first episode of Season 12. Quite happy with how it turned out, actually. And I'm hoping that we go much further. We are going to spend a little bit of extra time here in Merak territory to build up our force, to build up enough cash reserves that we can then travel all the way down here to fight the Romulans. And that's going to be an interesting battle once it finally happens. But anyway, I've been Tirek. If you like what you've been seeing, hit that like button and subscribe. If you want to receive a notification every time I post one of these videos, press that little bell icon. Leave a comment. If you're new to the channel, do you have any questions for just sort of how this game runs? Let me know so I can try and answer them throughout the thing. And if you're a veteran of this channel, tell me how excited you are for this campaign and the challenges you foresee coming towards us. And if you know a lot about the lore for Starfleet battles, hey, chime in what you know about the Merak or the Gazinti as they were in the original game. Anyway, I've been Tirek, and I will see you all in the next episode.